Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
Mr Chair, thank you. And in speaking to the committee stage as part of this bill, I want to reaffirm the positive sign that Labour will continue to support this and highlight a number of issues that I think should be raised in the House for consideration and to be put on the record. Firstly, in the first instance, Minister, when it was your suggestion to have another look at this particular legislation, let it be a salient lesson to everyone in the House how difficult it is for iwi to move forward on treaty claims. When this settlement was reached on the 22nd of August 2008 with Labour, there were clear undertakings that were agreed to by Waikato-Tainui. Then we had the subsequent election and the consideration of the current Minister of whether or not this current government could work through the provisions of that agreement. When the independent review panel was instituted, with your view in mind, Minister, to look at co-management provisions and look at streamlining that, it took some over 12 months to then revisit this settlement. And that period of gestation, I think, was felt with a certain amount of goodwill on behalf of Waikato-Tainui, but a high level of difficulty in terms of trying to get traction and movement with finalising the terms of an agreement who Waikato-Tainui had thought had been agreed to. And I just want to raise that, Minister, because in your attempt to look at a better way of addressing this, it left a gestation period which I think in many respects was a difficult period for Waikato-Tainui. And recognising that, can I make the point that I raised earlier in the secondary reading, that while your attempt to look at streamlining the co-management provisions may have been achieved, I would like to reinforce that it would not be Waikato-Tainui's view that this settlement is a one-size-fits-all approach. Every iwi who have a river, who want to go through settlement, will come up with various mechanisms that are more workable for them. And the reason why I raise that is that with specific regard to the establishment of the Waikato River Authority. Now, that provision was implemented largely as a result of recommendations of the independent panel, largely to condense the 5 statutory boards in the original settlement to one river authority. Now, there is some rationale that may lead people to think that having everybody sitting around the same table is a good thing. And certainly Waikato-Tainui have said, well, we'll have a look at it, we'll try it out. I do think that it is a matter that might need to be looked at in the review. I do think that it is helpful for all iwi along the Waikato River who can sit around the table together and have a say in what's happening in the integrated management of the river is a positive move and could actually derive greater benefit when you look at the whole river system as a whole, what happens on the land and in the waterways. But can I say this? If you were to apply the same thinking to, for example, the Waipa River, where there are largely only a couple of iwi in that, along that catchment, and you transport the other iwi from the Waikato River Authority onto the Waipa River, I think there would be some difficulty, and I would urge, Minister, that you consider the application of your streamlined provisions in a very pragmatic way that looks at the reality of how river systems operate and where iwi actually reside along that river. Understandable for Waikato, not so for Waipa. So I raise that as an early issue that I think needs some further clarification and debate and thinking, not for the purposes of this settlement, but for the purposes of what you propose to do, which was implement a streamlined approach to the co-management of waterways. Now, can I also say on the role of the River Authority, it was with some trepidation amongst Waikato-Tainui that the concession to have one iwi member alongside the other 4 as a member of this authority. Many members within the iwi felt that their voice and their view of the priorities for certainly managing the catchment from Karapiro down would be lost amongst the voices of other iwi who are in the upper catchment. Obviously, there are going to be offsets between interests in the upper catchment vis-à-vis interests in the lower catchment. But it's worth a go. It's worth a shot, and that's probably the point to mention now, is that it's worth a shot and we should have a look at it.
David Garrett.
Mr Chairman,